Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people hate reading. This week's our theater pick, so we did the movie Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies. We talk about Firefly episode 14, and we bring you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens,
Hello.
Ryan Preston,
And the old guys here.
So who has the description of this movie?
Brian does.
I do? Shit.
Bilbo and a company are forced to engage in a war against an array of combatants and keep the lonely mountain from falling into the hands of a rising darkness.
The first thing I want to say about this movie, at least the CGI was not as bad as the last one.
Yeah. It's the one thing that I was trying to put out of my mind was how incredibly terrible and cartoony it got for the second one.
The Technicolor rainbow was not out in full force this time.
God.
There were a few scenes that were like really bad CGI. The one that really pops out in my mind right now was the scene towards the end of the movie where they were battling on that tower that was falling down. It was Legolas.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that giant guy.
You know,
I
that
still
kinda
thought
was-
overall it was pretty well done.
That was kind of
yeah.
reminiscent of Return of the King, where Legolas was kind of running around on the elephant.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that reminded me of. I'm like, do we really need to do this again?
Well, I think they did a much better job on the CGI creatures, the big monster ones.
And was
I
it
thought
me,
those
or
were-
was Legolas supposed to be younger in this movie but looked older?
Well,
Yeah.
you can only apply so much makeup.
I also had people talk to me that his attitude was different. Like in the first Lord of the Rings,
Well, his attitude was different.
well, they said in the first three, his attitude was more young, and then in this one, he was more like this jaded elf.
Well, okay.
Well,
look,
he was basically a jaded elf.
Legolas was never supposed to be in The Hobbit. I mean, they basically sort of said, like, look, it was possible he could have been around the time, but nevertheless, he wasn't in the book. So they have
Yes.
nothing to draw on as far as what his character's like.
Wasn't
X
he in
amount
the?
of years before?
Wasn't it talked about in the appendix though? I thought he was in there somewhere. It's
because
loosely.
never mentioned as being anywhere near the Hobbit people.
No.
Because I know that red-haired chick that, and we have probably said this in the first two reviews of The Hobbit. I hated her character.
Well, and that there's a reason why is
Kate
because
Blanchett?
Yeah, I hated her character.
Really?
Tolkien never wrote about her. It was just this person that was sort of thrown in to be like part of like a. I mean, I think they just had like a lack of female presence in
I
them.
had to have a love story.
A lack of a backstory to put a backstory in.
Well,
Right,
that's
but I mean, it's
there was no
it
reason.
seems like it's somebody else because it's a completely different writer. Tolkien had nothing to do with that character.
And it was unneeded love story and triangle that not only didn't add anything to the movie, actually took it away.
You know, the one thing that I was really
me.
disappointed in, in basically this whole Hobbit series, is the lack of Gandalf's character. Because Gandalf was a bigger
Yeah, he didn't
bigger
have much to
character
do,
in
yeah.
The Hobbit than he was in Lord of the Rings.
Well, yes
Well,
and
sort
no.
of. He was kind of in and out of the Hobbit. Like,
He was
pretty
in
much
and out of The
same-
Hobbit, but he really wasn't kind of like, hi, bye, I'm
Well, no,
screwed up, I'm in a cage type thing. You know, I mean, that did happen, but, you know, it wasn't like that's basically all his character was in this entire series.
Well, but James is right. They weren't the scene when he met whatever his name was. I can never remember, the giant red eye guy. That was part one existent in The Hobbit. If I remember correctly, the book, he was in and out as the story progressed, but he wasn't really in the book.
But he was...
Sorry.
He was there. He was basically kind of like, he was more of like the guide character.
Oh yeah.
He was the theme throughout, but yes, he wasn't always there. He was basically there like, hey, how you doing? Oh, you're doing good? Okay, see you later.
Yeah. And either was it Radagast the Brown, the druggy dude? The other sorcerer?
Oh,
The one with the rabbits? He wasn't in there in either
No.
any of the book.
Well, Radagast was mentioned in the book, which I don't even remember.
I don't remember
it's
that
been so
either.
long since I read it, but
I was
I think he
preteen.
was mentioned, and the necromancers were kind of mentioned by Gandalf, but that's pretty much about it. It wasn't like this whole big long story that they were going into.
I will say, to kind of jump back into more of the movie, The one thing I was really glad they included into was the Arkenstone, because you had to, but I was really afraid the way it was going, they weren't going to mention it, because that's like one of the key things to the entire story. For the second and third one, the second movie alludes to it, and the third movie really shows it was a Bilbo betrayal, which really showed the change of Oakenshield.
So the question that's raised is, do we want movies that are just right to the letter of a book, or do we allow creative entertainment?
We absolutely do,
well,
especially in adaptations, because
Later, guys. See ya.
just say things differently than you would in a book.
But I don't think in this one you had a choice, because each movie was basically 100 pages of the book.
Well,
If they'd made 2 movies, I actually think it would have allowed for a little bit more creative freedom.
Well, okay. The thing I have my biggest issue, if we're looking at this one as the third in the series, this one, the beginning half an hour was crap. There was too much going on for you to start a film, and they were trying to catch you up, and it was just rushed. Everything seemed rushed because you had to get Smaug in there, you had to get the destruction of the town, and you had to get Smaug killed. And they forced it, they rushed it. I mean, when was the last Hobbit? A year ago?
Yeah.
A year ago. So you basically have people coming in who haven't seen this movie for a year, and you're trying to catch them up in less than 10 minutes so that you can progress the story. Horrible idea.
I have a feeling
It's just a weird place to start.
It's a weird place to end. I remember me saying this with the last movie. Really? Right there?
Right, yeah. I said the same thing. It was really
I have a
beginning of the end.
Exactly.
I have a feeling when the extended edition comes out from a year from now, it's going to be like 40 minutes longer, because it's going to try to slow down that beginning scene.
Yeah.
Because I agree with James. It went straight into kill him. It's like, what?
You know what? You don't even need all special features and like the documentaries and behind the scenes featurettes and things like that. Just the extended versions alone of the 6 of these movies is well over 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You could literally spend one entire day watching Tolkien. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I love Lord of the Rings.
couldn't.
I've loved all the books, but there's no chance in hell I'd ever be able to remotely be able to do that. I don't think I'd be able to function.
So, but back...
Yeah, it usually takes me a few days.
Back to what your dad was saying is, if we take this as a whole instead of just breaking it up into pieces, and I do have to agree with you guys, the CGI in the second one was horrible, but I think the storyline movement was better than this one.
No, I actually agree. I think this one, the last one the flow was much better.
Yeah.
This one to me seemed kind of blocky, very...
Well, it was very rushed in the beginning, then it slowed down and then got to a smooth pace.
Yeah,
so it really slowed down, and then it kind of smoothed out and kind of got a good pace.
I actually think...
Yeah, it was bookended by great action.
Yeah.
The middle kind of was... It sort of left you wanting more of the action. You just kind of wanted to, okay, when do we get to that Battle of 5 Armies?
Yeah.
I actually think the worst offender of that whole scene was when they were hauled up in the mountain and Oakenshield wouldn't come out. That whole scene with that weird Scottish-Irish dwarf kind of just really slowed it down. I mean, it was humorous, but that whole scene was just kind of, come on, let's start going. I know what happens here.
Yeah. So, but if we take this thing as a whole, I think the whole thing was mediocre. If I had to pick a word,
I would say,
to be honest,
I would say unneeded rushed. Because I just think with having 3 films, I think they had to rush certain aspects of it, and it feels really unfinished, and parts really felt unneeded.
It feels like a really poor driver. You know, somebody you're behind that goes slow and then fast and then slow and then fast, can't keep up with traffic. Just pass them. That's what I think of this movie, the whole thing. I read the book.
I'm kind of torn as far as how to kind of judge it, because one, The Hobbit was really meant to be kind of a children's story. That's why it's sort of whimsical and everything was really colorful. And
I think Tolkien himself was fairly whimsical. There's a lot of whimsicalness in The Lord of the Rings.
was almost like this precursor to sort of like the slightly older children to kind of get into this world, and then Lord of the Rings like hits you over the head with the crazy epic. But The Hobbit was kind of a children's story, and so looking at it like that, they definitely brought it into the realm of what we know as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is kind of hard. When in the book, the dwarves I think are described as having like blue beards and crazy yellow caps. They look more like garden gnomes.
That's actually kind of what I thought too.
So they were like
described.
So they were like Tom Bombadil but smaller.
So it's cool that they made it a little more earnest, but I mean you still have things like a talking dragon. It's still.
Who my wife thought was a really cool dragon.
She liked a dragon then.
Well, she thought it was really creepy.
Oh.
And I have to agree with her. I think the dragon was the best thing of the entire movie. How well they actually did it.
Well, I think that's
definitely.
the best
But
dragon I've seen.
James, tell me if that doesn't play like a Disney villain.
Yeah, you are right. Right.
Well, most movies that I can remember who've been like box office movies, the dragons are always kind of iffy. Was it? There was one that came out years ago, like Dragon Heart.
Oh.
There was another one.
I am the lost one.
There's something like that. There's another one. It's Aragorn, where the dragon was the same way. This was the only dragon to me that looked like a dragon.
No, hold on. I respectfully submit Reign of Fire.
I'll give you that.
That's
That's true. I'll give you that one.
I was trying to think. I knew there was another one. Thank you.
But this one added kind of the creepiness factor, and it's probably the only piece of CGI in both movies that doesn't lose it anywhere in between the films.
No. But
the other CGI I thought was really bad was the one Oakenshield was getting swallowed up in that golden hallway.
Oh yeah.
That twisty whatever.
Where he just kind of all of a sudden just like started hallucinating and hearing things and freaking out. I would say the dragon probably is the best thing that they did in the entire film. To be honest, though.
Yeah. But
I wasn't disappointed by Smaug.
No, definitely not. But I totally agree with you guys in as much as it was. I don't know about rushed. It's just a weird thing to do in 3 movies. I think somebody even wrote about it. I wish I could cite a source that somebody figured this one out. That there was more minutes of these movies than there are pages in the book.
Oh yeah,
The
no,
book wasn't very long.
Yeah,
it was 300 pages. It was literally 100 pages, almost 100 pages per movie. That's why I've always said they should have done 2 movies, because they could have eliminated half the crap.
Would have had it not cut off in dumbest place ever, because you almost had to have part of the dragon in the third one. Otherwise, you're just left with this battle. But the whole movie's going to be about this one battle.
And they could have skipped the whole scene where that thing was chasing everybody.
They could have skipped the whole Radagast part.
Yeah,
I mean? Like that was sort of just this flight of fancy.
And there was what was that one-armed dude? Anybody remember what his name was?
Oh, I could look it up.
I think you could have
one-armed dude.
I think you could have skipped every scene with him with that character, because he was not only was he not in The Hobbit, I actually think he was a very annoying character.
If we're going to talk about some positive things now, since we beat it up pretty good, for me, which I thought was really cool, were the armies and the way when the elf army was there, the way they were all lined up and everything. I thought that was kind of cool.
That's always been a strong suit of Peter Jackson. If you looked at Fellowship of the Rings, The Two Towers, Return of the King, every scene where there was that mass army scene was very well done.
Well, really cool.
I think that that in Two Towers, it was right around that time that they came out with some kind of computer program that basically made individual artificial intelligence for each individual thing, and they're doing the wide shot of the thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
What they used to do was sort of take sections and then copy them over here, so the people over here were doing the same thing, and then everybody else had their individual AI.
Exactly.
So the old guy used to do
That's
something.
what I used to do. Right. Yeah, that's the way it was done. I kept the cast down. But, now when you look at a movie with a budget of $250 million, I mean, my God. Aren't there better things to spend your money on than making a movie for $250 million?
They could give me half that.
I mean, that's just, to me, I'm starting to look at the budget of these movies and I'm beginning to say, really? I mean, are we really getting our money's worth here?
Well, that actually ties into what we're doing in a couple of weeks. We're doing movie shorts. Make sure you stay tuned, highlighting directors that are up and coming.
Go ahead, Ryan. What did you want to say?
Is as far as the budget and what do we spend money on, dude? I is as much of a movie fan as I am. How beautiful these things are.
Yeah.
It's something else that I don't know. It's
well, I think that goes good. I think that goes against it, though.
It was like a quarter of the NASA budget. It was what they spent on this movie.
But I actually
and that's my point. I mean, it's just sometimes.
We didn't get to the moon.
Well, I actually think
and it sucked. There was no dragons. So
I actually think the beauty of the movies can go against it, because if, like, the second one, where it looks beautiful but it looks like a Technicolor rainbow, I think it actually takes you out of the movie a little. Where back in the 80s and earlier, we had some of the scratchy, maybe not the best sets. You were more focused on the story, the character development, instead of missing everything and realizing, hey, that guy looks like a Crayola marker,
you know? This is not the epic that is Lord of the Rings, where everything is sort of kind of like folded on top of itself. It's the Hobbit. It's kind of a simpler story, again, for children. So they're trying to elevate that material into something that Lord of the Rings fans still want to see. And I think, number two, they were trying to reach back to the children point of view a little bit, like, hey, look at these fun things.
No, I don't disagree. I mean, overall, I really liked.
Then it's even worse. They spent $250 million on a children's movie.
Overall, I actually think I really liked all three movies. I have to give this movie a 3 out of 5. There's still parts that really bugged me. CGI and parts overall really liked the story. They had to me, which were the important parts of the story. You know, the Arkenstone and Oakenshields kind of change of heart. For me, it's a strong 3 to 5, almost a 4 to 5. If Robin and Ryan had did their homework and did the half points, I might actually give it one to that. But since they've been slacking, I just can't do it.
So, some time.
James, what do you think?
You know, I think just the pacing of this one was just too horrible, and it's a 2.
Wow.
I really do. I think the pacing of this movie just really screwed it up.
Wow.
And I don't think there was a good recovery in it. I really don't. If I take this movie as what it is instead of the whole trilogy, the whole trilogy, The Hobbit gets a 3, but this one, out of all of them, I think it gets a 2.
Right.
Battle of Five Armies didn't redeem it.
Okay.
Although I did like the elk.
Yeah.
His stag was.
It looked tasty.
Great.
Yeah.
Ryan.
I know we've gotten to this part pretty quick in the show, so I'm going to ramble for a minute because I got a point to make.
Not really.
When it comes to Star Wars, the preferred way that I watch the series, because it's hard to just watch one without watching all of them.
He watches all 7.
You do 4, 5, and I'm doing this in the modern day sense. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then 6. Okay, that's the best way to watch the Star Wars epic. Okay, with The Hobbit in general, it should be watch 1.5, and then 2.5 through 3, and then it's all good. You know what I mean? But it is a weird place to cut off number 2, and it is a weird place to start number 3, and the pacing did suffer because of it. But it is a 3, but because I have to judge it with the other 2 movies, you know?
If I judge a standalone, it's a 2. Doesn't matter.
I'm not even sure I can. Yeah, gosh.
So, Rob,
I'm doing it the way Peter Jackson put them out. All right?
The old guy's up.
Well, I think the improvement of the CGI and some of the spectacular sets, I'm going to give it a 3 on that more than anything else. I don't like the pacing of this movie. If our job is to review it and be honest about it, I think most people just go to a movie to see a movie, they're going to like it. They'll be happy with it. If we're going to sit here and tear it apart because it's not to the letter of the books, yeah, okay, it's not Are there some characters in the movie that's not in the books? Yeah, there are. But so what? But for me, it's a 3. And
I agree with your entire sentiment, Rob. All the changes I can completely
Suck up.
well, thank you. The hell with Jonathan.
yeah, exactly. Screw these guys.
I will be honest, I'm still not sure how you turn 100 pages into a 3-hour movie. But, they did have to add, and it's always been Peter Jackson's view on Tolkien's work, which is one of the reasons why we should be noted that until Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, dies, this will be the last Tolkien movie made.
Yeah.
Because his Tolkien's son has made it clear that he hates Peter Jackson and what Peter Jackson did to his father's works, which is a bummer because is it the Silvermarillion? I don't know how to say it. There's
Silmarillion.
There's some amazing stories in there I would love to see. And with that, we're going to switch off to Firefly episode 14, and James, you're up.
So, this one, for the series to end on, I just got to say it's a disappointment.
Well,
Yes.
I don't think it was planned to be the series ending.
I really don't either. And
It leaves a sour taste in your mouth.
it really does.
Yeah.
It really does to have it end on this one. And for those of you who don't know what this one is, they go and pick up a body in the mail, and it turns out to be one of their old buddies from, back in the war, this
Back
little
in the
guy
day,
who was
right.
supposed to be dead, and when they poke him, he wakes back up, and blah, blah, blah. Shenanigans ensue. You shouldn't have ended it there, Fox. Shut up. I hate you.
So this is exactly where, for who's actually followed us through this entire thing, and bless you if you have,
And
Yeah.
your girlfriend.
if you felt any kind of vitriol of like, what do you mean there's no more? It's completely perfectly founded.
Absolutely.
Just because that's what everybody else went through when it was actually on. They're like, what are you talking about? This isn't on.
You can't end it here.
Yeah.
We all felt that same
Hence the reason they made Serenity, because I think it was to appease the fans.
Outrage.
So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, take a great. To me, here's the problem. Here's the way I look at it. If you're a science fiction fan, you're willing to forgive certain things, and you really like this because I love science fiction. There's just the whole idea about being out in space, and these guys are kind of space cowboys more or less.
And it was a fairly budget sci-fi show too.
Yeah,
which I liked.
and it was cool, and I really like it just because it's something that I like. But for some reason, it doesn't seem to draw enough numbers, when it's on the air, and the money people are saying, I'm sorry, it's not making enough money, we're going to cancel you. There's not enough viewer ratings.
You know what really surprises me is Sci-Fi Channel never picked it up. Sci-Fi picked up Stargate SG-1 for additional 5 years.
Yeah, they did.
You would think they would pick up something that would possibly be the next Star Trek.
Dude, back then there was nobody that had really set the precedent for doing, that kind of offbeat sort of programming, because it does have kind of a specific audience for the people who really love the show.
Oh no, it does. It totally does. But I actually think this movie had the potential to be the next Star Trek type of thing. This universe was very rich. Just by the 14 episodes. That's the thing.
It's a shame when these kinds of shows don't find their footing early enough, when that they would have in season 2, but nobody ever really gave them a chance.
Right.
It sucks when that happens.
And with that, make sure you stay tuned for next week, where we discuss
I like Jane's hat.
All the 14 episodes and Serenity, which is the Firefly movie. And also want to remind everybody we do have a Facebook page. Do you hate us? Do you love us? Is there a genre or a movie you'd like us to do? Let us know. Also, if you want a little pause for the cause, donate a little money to Old Guy Tech TV, please. And that being said, somebody here has to have movie news. So you're up, whoever it is.
So
That
I was waiting
a
for
long
the
drum
to
roll.
finish. Anyway, Gambit and Assassin's Creed get release dates.
Gambit?
Gambit.
Really?
Yes, Gambit. It is to be coming out basically immediately after the X-Men Apocalypse comes out.
Like
So
a
who's
Gambit
playing?
standalone?
Yeah,
Movie?
Gambit is doing a standalone movie.
Wow.
Two questions.
Cool. That was my
That'd be
favorite
interesting.
character.
Two questions. Who's playing Gambit, and what exactly is it about? Is it
And
I heard a rumor about who was playing Gambit, and I don't know if it's true.
Channing Tatum is
Okay.
rumored.
Oh,
Rumored.
Now it's going to be able to pull off a New Orleans accent.
Now, see, it's exactly what I said. Now, he's from the South. I think he grew up in like Alabama or something like that. So he's probably, I can't hear any Alabama accent, and that's a thick accent they have over there.
It can,
But
I don't
that
see
is
him.
supposed to be in October.
I'll be honest. I don't see him as Gambit.
And then Assassin's
I can't
Creed.
see it. I mean, we've been surprised by actors transforming before. I mean, it is what they do.
Oh no,
And
no,
he has gotten incredible praise for the Foxcatcher movie that I still have yet to see.
Oh yeah, no, you're 100% true. There's been actors that have definitely changed it, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait and see because right now I can't see him because he sucked out loud in the GI Joe movies.
My problem is this character strong enough to base a whole movie on?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You think so?
at least
yeah.
one. At least one movie.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm willing. I hope that the writers do a good job, but I'm a little bit worried that
I want them to do Thieves and Assassins.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. If they could do 1 2-hour movie on that.
Anyway, so that's October 7th, 2016, and Assassin's Creed is right before Christmas of 2016.
Now, which Assassin's
When you
Creed?
say
character?
Assassin's Creed, we're not talking about the video game, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the video game has a movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It's been done before.
I mean, okay.
Why
The
are
movies
you?
themselves, I mean, how are you gonna? Anybody who's gonna watch that movie has played the video games. Anybody who's played the video games know how great they are. How are you gonna? I mean, they already are movies.
So
I think the difference is you're going to have to translate something from a video game and into a movie, and I actually think with this series, that's not easy.
No, it's not gonna be easy.
Now, there's another one coming out sometime in 2015. It's got Liam Neeson, Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver.
Taken 3.
No, I actually
before.
really like the premise of this story. And John would know why. If any of you guys have watched anime, know anything about some of the old anime stories, is one of the things that they bring in a lot of their stories. In the 17th century, there were Jesuit priests who tried to bring Christianity to Japan. A lot of them went through a lot of hard persecution.
And
Like
death.
hardcore persecution, like being crucified on crosses out in islands, things like that. Now, that storyline mixed with Scorsese, what do you guys think think about this movie? I hate you, Scorsese. You can go and die.
He's one of James's personal enemies.
I can see that.
You're a piece of crap. Give this to somebody who can do it. I hate you. Die.
Okay, well, besides your vitriolic hatred of Scorsese, anything else? 'Cause
No.
I got a
I
rant.
think James is right. It's a disaster already, and it hasn't even been made.
I know.
So I got another random piece of news. So want to change gears? Anybody remember Disney's Pete's Dragon?
Yes.
No.
They're making a sequel, or actually they're rebooting it. Actually,
Pete 2?
apparently it's gonna, from what I read, it'll be Pete's Dragon, but it won't be a musical.
So, no.
Is Pixar gonna get involved in this one?
Dude, from what I read, it's not very specific. I'm assuming it's gonna be a straight Disney.
Yeah, it'll be.
So,
They need the Pixar people. They're the only ones that know how to write story.
this just goes back to that, Disney's a piece of crap who just keeps on releasing the same storylines.
Yeah, and
True.
Here we go again.
I guess to end the movie on a little sadder note, we lost Edward Herman. He was the villain in The Lost Boys. He was also in the Richie Rich movie, and he's done a serious stuff, including voiceover work for the History Channel over the years. And if you've ever heard him or seen him, you definitely know who he is because his voice was very distinct.
Who was he in the Richie Rich movie?
He was the dad in Richie Rich.
Okay, anyway.
Wow. Well, yeah.
That was good timing.
Yes. He was also
Sorry.
he was also the main bad guy in the Lost Boys, not Kiefer, but the main old guy. So we just recently lost him. He was a so-so actor, but he was always one of my
he was
favorite
there.
voiceovers. Yeah.
He was there.
So wow.
Okay.
So anything else in there? Oh, I guess another random thing is Ninja Turtles is getting a sequel.
We talked about that.
Yes, I figured,
Yeah, let's talk about it again?
Yep.
But I didn't want to talk about it the
You know,
first time.
I gotta say, I was not disappointed.
I liked it.
I know, you said that before, too.
I kind of dug it too.
You guys grew up with them. That's why.
And
The lack of
actually liked the way-
skateboarding bothered me, but
For me, it was like the 20th time Jonathan was watching it. I just got about burnt out.
But I actually really enjoyed
was
the
it
way
the
the
90s?
turtles were drawn. They were done very well.
I just didn't like how bloody large they
yeah.
Yeah,
were. Why do you need to be a ninja when you're 9.5 feet tall and could just smash things?
Yeah.
and definitely, and that
Leonardo Smash.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what? Train for what? I can pick up people and just throw them.
and with that being said, I gave The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies, a 3 to 5. James gave it a 2.
Deuces.
Ryan gave it a 3. Rob gave it a 3. Next week we're doing Serenity / Firefly. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.